From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the CFL This Week with Bubba O'Neil.
There's been a surprising substitution in Steele Town. After one of the most shocking endings to a football game in Ottawa, the old has become new. Have the Lions lost their roar, and is returner Janarion Grant really the GOAT? This is the CFL This Week on the Ticats Audio Network, so pleased that you have joined us. I'm Bubba O'Neil. Folks, if you love three-down football chat, this is the place to be with the league's top insiders, broadcasters, columnists, and personalities from all over the country. I see you smiling there, Eddie Steele. And on this week's episode, he's a star of TSN radio and television in the T-Dot, and he has the ability to distinguish the difference between oak and fruity notes. He is our man, Matthew Cauz.
Hey, Bubba.
Good to join. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Yeah.
Out of Saskatchewan, life is always better when you are wearing green. From CJME and CKOM, Jamie Nye. Thanks for joining us, partner.
As always, Bub, it's great to be here.
Right on. Hey, and this fella, well, he's got to be the happiest of the bunch, all four of us, really, because the Elks finally won a home game. From Sports 1440 in Edmonton, Eddie Steele, always appreciate you, partner.
Good to see you, Bubba. It's great to be with you, and I look forward to chatting with you, fellas.
Let's do it up, folks. Hey, following their loss to the Alouettes, Ticats head coach Scott Milanovich said he expects that Taylor Powell will be a starting QB this week at home versus the Elks. Mr. Steele, are you surprised about this surprising change?
You know, I'm not shocked, I'll be honest, solely for the fact that Taylor Powell played really well. It'd be a different story if he struggled his way through the football game, but he had a really strong showing. I said to my buddies, he was balling out when I was watching the game. The leash seemed to be quite short on Bo, and I know that that's not the way you want to start a game with a couple of turnovers. So that was interesting to see how short the leash was, and then for Scott to be so quick to come out and say that Taylor will be starting the following week. It's a unique situation. It's not something that you see all the time, and it just makes me wonder if there was some underlying things going on for Scott to have made this decision so quickly on Bo, who is a big ticket item for the franchise.
You know, Mr. Cauz, upon being hired, that was one of the things Scott said, is that he has no tolerance basically for turnovers. I guess it's fair to say that Bo Levi and his statistics would tell you he's leading the league in turnovers. So your thoughts here?
Yeah, he is. And that's something obviously you want to cut down on, but they're last in rushing yards. It's not like Hamilton has got this really balanced attack. Teams know they're going to be throwing the ball. One of the interceptions went off of Tim White's chest right to a member of the Roughriders early in the season. You know, and I'm not there in practice, but they're last in points allowed. They're third last in yards allowed. They're last in rushing yards. So let's bench the quarterback with the most passing yards and the most touchdowns. Now, maybe this is just about really got to shake things up, really got to send a message. And yes, I understand that with numbers, sometimes it's empty calorie yards when you're not getting wins. So you can't look at fantasy as the end-all be-all, but why Bo Levi Mitchell needs to be starting. But yeah, I am shocked to see it, or maybe we shouldn't be after he got benched in the playoffs, didn't play in the playoffs last year. But no, my initial reaction was, it's not like they had Trey Ford sitting there. You know, they have Taylor Powell, like a second-year guy.
So I like Taylor Powell. Yeah, I like Taylor Powell. I thought this might have happened earlier in the season when the wins weren't coming for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, because the way Taylor Powell kind of conducted himself last year. And there was a lot of questions. And the reason Scott Milanovich was asked about Bo Levi Mitchell right away was because, well, they signed Powell to an extension, and it kind of felt like, okay, this looks like this is the future of the franchise. Now, Bo Levi Mitchell's been great, as you pointed out, Matt. Well, not great with the turnovers, but he's been a lot better than we've seen in the past. So I was surprised at how quick that hook was, but I've come quite good at reading lips, especially when it comes to F-bombs being dropped. And there's been a few times Bo's been met with that leaving the field after a turnover. So this has clearly been brewing for Scott Milenovich to make this move where he is asking his quarterback. And that throw, I'll be honest, the Bo Levi Mitchell interception, I could see why Scott lost his mind. That was, rushing to your right, throwing across your body to your left. Those are rookie mistakes that you can't do, especially when you have the Montreal Alouettes out there on the field. So I absolutely understand why Scott Milenovich will be and is frustrated with his quarterback. And I'm not really surprised that they want to go with Taylor Powell, because it felt like he was the future of this team even after last year.
And you got to look at it, the facts are the facts. This is a 2-win team. One of the wins is against the lowly Elks a few weeks back, who were a 0-win team. Sure, Bo Levi might have some great stats, but he's leading the league in picks, and they're bottom feeders in the East currently. So you got to do something to change it up. He's clearly not leading this team the way they should be led at the quarterback position. I don't care about the stats. It's all about winning, and they're not winning. So got to do something.
Does he have a lot of support around him?
On offense?
On anywhere.
Oh, the team? Well, offensive support, not not defensive support. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But turnovers, that's on you. That's got to fall on your shoulders. Supporting cast aside, but what does he have in terms of turnovers? He's got 10+ turnovers just to himself.
Well, Eddie, hold on. I mean, you've played the game, and you know that sometimes the interception stat is the most unfair statistic for a quarterback, seeing that sometimes it's a tip ball. Maybe the receiver ran the wrong route. Anything can happen. Would you not respond to that?
Yeah, that's valid. Absolutely, that's valid. But at the end of the day, you're still 2 wins.
With when it comes to those types of things, there's more than meets the eye when it comes to the wins and losses, and the more losses than wins for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. There's no doubt about that. But there's been times where Bo's made throws that weren't picked off that you could see Scott, you could tell that it went to the wrong spot, right? Where Scott's expecting it to go. And this kind of almost feels like I don't know if it's a personality clash or not, but Bo's been around the league a long time. Scott wants his quarterback to play a specific way. So that sometimes even that, 2 headstrong individuals don't really mesh if you're not seeing the quarterback make the decision that you think, that you've studied, that you've shown on film. And that's why Scott referenced, man, he makes that right read. We got a 12-yard play, right? He sees those things where Bo's trying to make it a 20-yard play and making a mistake while he's doing it.
Eddie, you're back. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. My point was, all I was saying is, the stats, you're right. The turnovers, it's a team game. It's not all on him. He bears the brunt of it. That's the reality of playing the quarterback position. And this isn't just a this year problem. Bo Levi's been throwing picks left and right for the past 3 years. So the reality is, I've been saying it, Bubba, I've said that I'm surprised that he had such a resurgence coming off of, I think he's been banged up the past couple of years. I don't think his shoulder has been totally up to par for what it should be, but he's having a resurgence. But along come the turnovers with the resurgence. And at the end of the day, it's much like the Elks out here. McLeod, Bethel Thompson, you can be a great passer, but you're not producing wins. And at the end of the day, you got to produce wins. And 2 wins isn't cutting it. So I understand a need for a change, especially when Powell came out and played really, really well.
Matt, I'm going to throw this to you, and any of you guys can respond to this. Again, I'm just loading up the bear here. Bo Levi Mitchell has never thrown 5 touchdown passes in his career. Yet in the Tiger Cats' last meeting against the Elks, he threw a career-high 5 touchdown passes. I think we can all agree that the Montreal defense is something special. It's a little different than playing against most teams. So would this not seem strange to you that the Tiger Cats are facing the same team that Bo Levi Mitchell threw 5 touchdown passes against, and he could be, we don't know for sure, he could be watching from the sideline, Matt?
I look at it, maybe they're trying to create a soft landing spot for Taylor Powell, sort of easing him in like me in a hot tub, and that's what they're trying to do here, build his confidence up. Don't go against the Wolves that is the Montreal Alouettes. We see this in the NFL when or the CFL. You got a rookie quarterback, start the veteran against the hard teams, and then let the young guy take on some cupcakes out there. And also, speaking of interceptions, Zach Caleros, 8 interceptions to 4 touchdowns. McLeod Bethel-Thompson, 8 interceptions to 10 touchdowns. I'm looking up and down. Drew Brown doesn't exactly have this great TD to INT ratio. There's a lot of interceptions being thrown right now by quarterbacks all across Canada. The one point by Eddie that I really liked was, this is not just about this year. Bo Levi has not been good in the entirety of his time in Hamilton, so maybe there's something that's been building for a little while and less just about 2024.
Let's see what happens. The Ticats resume practice today. Again, I'm not quite sure if that announcement is official, but we'll soon find out. Redblacks and the Roughriders. I don't know what you guys thought. That was some wild, crazy ending, up and down. I thought the Redblacks lost, then I thought the Roughriders lost. Jamie Nye, have you ever seen a finish like that?
No, I've never seen. I can't remember a time when I've seen the ref, in this case Tim Croker, wave the flag in the air, call end of the game, and go, "Hold on a second, pardon me, sorry about that. We're taking another look at this last play." And I was of the opinion, when I saw the play, I was like, and Eddie, you're the defensive lineman, so I can't wait for you to weigh in on this, because a guy running full speed, getting cut, landing at the feet of the quarterback being a penalty, I was losing my mind just a little bit over that one being called roughing the passer. Now, I understand you have to stay off the quarterback's legs, but I thought coming off the block was for guys like Eddie Steele coming around, driving down and getting pushed into the legs rather than being chopped 4 yards flying through the air and landing at his feet. So, that was strange. That was extremely strange. I'm somebody who says they should do what the NFL does and have the same kind of rule book on reviews, which would take away DPI as a reviewable play, which means the Redblacks would have won that game because Corey Mace wouldn't have been able to challenge defensive pass interference.
I don't know. I don't know how you feel about a tie, Matt. Like, just kind of unfulfilling.
It is. It's really unfulfilling. I hate a tie almost as much as I hate that expression. A tie is like kissing your sister. We need to upgrade it. It's a creepy term that really has no place in our lexicon anymore. It's like, really? Actually, I can think of a lot of other things. I'm going to go with that. But I will say, it does add a little spice to the season. Like, I remember the last time 17, I think it was Ottawa and Calgary, a Grey Cup rematch, 31-31. There is something wild about it. It doesn't happen. It gave us some Dustin Crum moments, and he's a guilty pleasure of mine. And you know, I feel the worst for are the people that have to do the standings, because now you've got to add the extra column. It's not just games played, wins, losses. It's now wins, losses, tie. And now you got to put that there for every website. Like, everyone, all the Rough Rider fans are boo-hooing about what was taken from them. What about the people in charge of Microsoft Excel or whatever the hell the program is to get the tie column up on websites?
The extra work.
Yes.
Go ahead, Eddie.
My thoughts on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys might be shocked by my answer. First and foremost, that was a penalty by the book. I mean, I've been a victim of that. I've been blocked into the legs. It sucks, but you're going into a person who's in a very vulnerable position, and you could really bust out a knee. It really could, especially when the quarterback had his leg planted. If you got that front leg, it could have been a really serious injury. So I get it. It sucks. By the book, it is a penalty. Despite being blocked in, despite running full go, it sucks that he got blocked into it. That's the nature of the beast sometimes. Now, I want you guys to correct me if I'm wrong. The reason that the command center got involved to begin with was because it was a turnover, right? Because the ball came out and the Riders ended up with the ball. I don't think command center would have even gotten involved if there wasn't a turnover. They only got involved because they had to look at the exchange of possession. Is that not correct?
That's the only reason. We're going through the rule book that there is a caveat on they can jump in on egregious misses. So they could have done that way, but I felt the same way as you. The only way by the rule going through the page and I did this, Matt. You'd be impressed for me. I did
Wow.
this from page 65 to 71 on replay, reading page word by word. I was thinking, yeah, that might have been it. It might have been the turnover that actually.
So if there wasn't a turnover,
yep,
we're not going to review. If there wasn't a turnover, we're not going to review, and we're not calling penalty. It's because of that fumble at the end and the exchange of possession is why Command Center had to get involved.
I mean, and the crazy thing is Dustin Crum was in the dressing room when he was called to come back out. He was done. He thought the game was over. And by all rights, I mean, apparently some fans thought the game was over too. There was all over Bob Dice. I don't know what's going on there. I think the league is looking into that as well too. But I just think it's crazy with the tie, guys, in the sense that for Ottawa, the last time they had a tie game, they went to a Grey Cup. So maybe this is a good thing for Ottawa.
There you go. This is a team that's won like 14 games the last 4 years. If any team deserves a break, it's Ottawa, but Jamie's the real hero here. I never read stereo instructions in the 80s. There's no way I'm reading that giant rule book.
Coming out of this game, guys, Drew Brown suffers what seemed to be a pretty substantial injury. And then, of course, it was Dustin Crum that replaced him. Now, we are told early in the week, this is a Thursday game where Ottawa will be playing, I believe, that it will be Jeremiah Masoli, Matt, at quarterback over Dustin Crum, your guy, your thoughts.
Okay, I'm conflicted because I love Crum, but I was calling Hamilton Ticat games during the TSN 1150 days. I saw the growth of Jeremiah Masoli. He was a guy who didn't throw a pretty pass, but Hamilton seemed to win. And he was battling with Zach Collaros when Collaros was hurt. He eventually wins that battle, becomes the starter, goes from gritty guy to Eastern nominee, throwing up 300-yard passing games. Then in 2019, he's on maybe the best Hamilton Ticat team that went 15-3. He puts up 400-yard passing games, throws up 60-plus on the Argonauts. Then a non-contact injury. He's done. Here comes Dane Evans. Before that, he had to battle off with Jeremiah Masoli. I'm not going to lie to you. This is also my next CFL.ca column. I am wildly fascinated to see what does Jeremiah Masoli have in him, because no one wants their final moment to be carried off the field by your teammates because of a cheap shot below the knee. I can't wait to see what Masoli does on Thursday. I'm thrilled.
That's an interesting point because, Eddie, doesn't it kind of always end that way?
It does. It really does. I'm shocked that they're giving him the green light, though, because much like Matthew, I'm like a big Crum fan. I really am. He showed some really good flashes last year. I liked what I saw in the game, especially the athleticism that he brings to the game. So I'm really surprised that they're elevating Masoli above him. This is going to be unique because we haven't seen Jeremiah in how long has it been? He got hurt at the very beginning of last year.
2 years ago, 2022.
So it's been 2 years. That's what I thought. So a long time. So what does he have? What does the ball look like coming out of his hand and everything, the game flow, the game speed? And
I can't
again,
wait to find out.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out. But I wish Crum would have got the burn. I'm surprised that they're not just letting him go because, again, he brought them some victories last year too.
I understand it. I understand it, guys. I like Dustin Crum. He's fine. Jeremiah Masoli's a leader. Jeremiah Masoli's a leader.
Yes.
This team loves Jeremiah Masoli.
Mm-hmm.
And who does he have back? He's got Tommy Kundell riding shotgun with him as the new offensive coordinator in Ottawa. That's the guy he gelled with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He knows this offense. He's comfortable in this offense. With Drew Brown out, who's the future, of course, of that team, they need stability. And I had never looked at Dustin Crum. How many wins did they have last year? Like in Ottawa?
4.
Like Dustin Crum wasn't Trey Ford turning
Well, they had a lot of
things
different
around in
quarterbacks,
Edmonton.
Jamie. There's a lot of different quarterbacks. Oh,
so
sure,
Jeremiah
Dustin.
Masoli it made sense to me. I was calling for him to play last week when Drew Brown got injured. I'm like, Masoli's there, put him in.
The big thing though is like, when have we seen a quarterback be out of ball for 2 years? Like that's gonna be a lot of rust. I can't wait to see it.
Well, Caleros was sat out for almost over a year.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the history of him, like around 15, he was going to win the MOP. Injuries, trades, bad luck. He's bouncing around everywhere, then becomes a star in Winnipeg. It's kind of similar with, Masoli's kind of a bit of a lesser version of that, but we're all curious to see it. The leadership is there, and I just want to see what it looks like. To me, there's no lose situation in Ottawa, whether it's Crum or Jeremiah Masoli. It's so compelling.
I really like the Caleros comparison. You're right, because I had played against Zach when he was on the way up, and excuse me, he actually got hurt against us. We tore his ACL in, I believe it was 14. But the one difference between Zach and Masoli is when Zach got to Winnipeg, he had some absolute monsters on the O-line, and that had been Winnipeg's bread and butter, and a monster of a run game. So he was very protected. Zach has balled out in Winnipeg, but he hasn't had to do it on his own superstardom. He's been able to lean on the supporting cast. Does Ottawa have the same? We'll see.
I'll counter my own point to you guys is that the only difference here for Masoli compared to Caleros is I don't think Caleros was 35 years old at the time.
No,
valid.
No, it's a good point. Yeah.
And he was 32, 33. Yeah. Well, tomato.
I don't know. Every year gets a little harder than
in this
than
business,
the last
every
one.
year matters, Jamie. You know that.
As someone in their 40s, I'm trying to say, there's no difference between 2 years. It's fine.
You know, Matt, you just to your, I know you love Crum, and the thing was too, I thought when I've watched him this year compared to, his stint last year as the number one guy, is that he was becoming more of a pass first guy than running. I mean, there was a couple of drives in that game against the Roughriders where he went 7 for 7 without a run in between there. So I thought he was becoming more refined as a passer, whether that's Tommy Condell's influence or not, or his maturity. I'm surprised. I love Masoli. I love him. I've gone to bat with him. I actually, as a Ticats broadcaster, a Hamilton broadcaster, I cried for him to be the starter over Caleros because I thought Caleros was shot at the time. But, I feel sorry for the Crum.
Yeah, but he'll have an opportunity. I mean, if there's one thing we know about the CFL is that quarterbacks get hurt all the time. Look at BC, look at Montreal, like all over the place. Dustin Crum will have an opportunity to prove himself.
Right.
That's a heck of a point. That's a heck of a point, Matthew, because here we are. Trey Ford just got hurt, and they got to go back to McLeod Bethel Thompson out here in Edmonton. You need two quarterbacks in this league. You need it.
Bobs, can I break news right now? Can I break news? Is this allowed? Can I break news right now?
Please do.
From the BC Lions? Do you guys see this?
Did they sign him?
Nathan Rourke's back in the CFL with the
signed
BC
him.
Lions.
Oh, my goodness.
They signed him.
Wow.
Wow, to BC? Vernon
BC
Adams,
Lions.
I don't like that. We were talking about that on the radio yesterday. I would be upset if I was Vernon. I don't like that one bit.
Oh, absolutely. If you remember when Trevor Harris re-signed with the Montreal Alouettes, the tweet that Vernon Adams Jr. sent out with the Snakes on that one. So
wow,
that was
man.
so
Holy
they said it. They
mackerel.
tweeted it out.
There's going to be
Rourke
some
will
movement,
arrive.
guys. There'll be some movement.
Rourke will arrive at the club's facility for Wednesday practice. Media availability to follow at 1:30. So
Holy
First off,
Tomo. Well, I mean,
Jamie
okay.
Nye,
Here we go. Which
my
leads us,
producer
Matt,
was just lighting me up going, we're changing the show today.
My
phone
is
Nathan
buzzing
Rourke
right now.
just
My phone is just texting off the chain.
Yeah, hold on
crazy.
here. There's like, holy mackerel. Okay, now, Matt, as we naturally go right into our next issue here, the question is the BC Lions have lost 3 in a row. Where are the BC Lions in your personal power ranking? And now we throw in that caveat.
Yeah, I don't know. You wonder just about chemistry. You wonder what this does in a locker room. And I know that the last couple of weeks have been bad. Shut out by Winnipeg, the injury to Vernon Adams. But also, the bad defense. The Lions gave up over like 450 yards like 2 weeks in a row and got shredded by Edmonton. Can I put them in their own category? Can I rank 1 to 8? And then the BC Lions are sort of TBA here because I had a much better answer until old Jamie with a capital J for journalism breaking down the Nathan Rourke news to us. But this is compelling. But I do feel bad for Vernon Adams. I also feel bad for everyone who placed a bet on Vernon Adams to win the MOP. Because I don't know what the odds are going to be on that.
Well, hold on, Eddie. This does guarantee. I mean, I know Rourke and the offensive coordinator, Max Semick, they've gotten together. They've been together in the past. So I guess there would be nothing more than a refresh of the playbook. But hold on. Vernon Adams, until his injury, he was going 1, 2, or 3 at the very least for MOP consideration. Do you just sit him all of a sudden because Nathan Rourke is back?
Bubba, you ain't signing Nathan Rourke to have him on the bench.
Yeah.
I agree with Bubs though. I think Nathan Rourke comes back and talked about a guy who hasn't been, Jeremiah Masoli in game action. Either really is Nathan Rourke. How many quarters of football has he played in the last, 1.5 years? 4 quarters of football.
But again, you don't.
And going from team to team to team. Oh, absolutely. So I think Nathan Rourke is going to be there for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, see how Vernon Adams recovers from the knee injury, or Vernon's knee injury is a little bit more severe than they let on to begin with, and they need a quarterback because they're hosting the Grey Cup. And
yes.
I don't think Amar Doman gives a
he doesn't care about feelings.
He cares about hosting that Grey Cup with the BC Lions in BC Place Stadium, and I can imagine the message was, if Nathan Rourke's available, here's my paycheck or here's my checkbook. What does it take? So,
one of the slight differences, and here's a small comparison to the Edmonton quarterback situation, is there was definitely some rumbles that Troy Ford was upset that they went and signed McLeod Bethel-Thompson in the offseason because Trey brought them their only success last year, 4 wins. But I firmly said, this is pro football. Nobody cares about feelings. You got to go out, earn the job. The coaches, the GM, they don't care if you're upset because you signed a quarterback. Look, if I have a bad game, there are going to be 3 defensive tackles in the locker room trying out for my position the next day. So I don't care about feelings just because you play quarterback. But the unique thing with BC here is Vernon has been good last year. He was an MOP front runner up until he got hurt. He was in the running for MOP last year. So it's not like this team is struggling with Vern. Other than the Winnipeg game where they got 4 first downs. So to sign Nathan and have him there with Vern, who is a very well-established number 1 franchise guy, man, that's quite a mix-up they have in BC. It really is.
And let's not forget, in 2022, like almost 80% completion, bombs away. He was incredible, lighting up everyone. In the end, though, this is a good day for the CFL. If Nathan Rourke comes back and is even close to the guy that he was, that means Vernon Adams Jr., he'll find another team. And what it means is it's just better and better quarterback play. And if Chad Kelly comes back and is close to the guy he was last year, and Cody Fajardo is healthy soon, and Trevor Harris is healthy soon, it bombs away, baby.
Good thing.
This isn't like a couple of years ago, the year after COVID, when no one could complete a pass, or like 2014 when Solomon Eliminian is winning the MOP. This is the game at its best with a lot of quarterbacks.
How dare you? How dare you? Like, have you no feelings for Jake Dolegala?
No.
Oh, God.
No?
I'll tell you what, there's one guy in Saskatchewan, Chad from Esterhazy, who calls my show. Shout out to Chad. He's feeling for Jake. He even got a Jake Dolegala Rider jersey last year. He thought he was the future. So
he's the one.
Yeah, he got that. He was on board. Eddie, Rider Nation. They got one guy in training camp, and they're buying his jersey instantly.
Yeah.
So
they'll get it.
What did he do with his? What did he do with his Fine jersey?
No, he hated Mason Fine. He was a Jake Dolegala guy the whole way through. So,
Jamie
there's one guy feeling for Jake.
Breaking news on the CFL this week, and we get to respond to it. I'm not speechless, but I am speechless. This is incredible. I
thought he would wait a while to look at like injuries in preseason or something like that, but
maybe just wants the stability. Maybe he wants the stability. Tired of traveling around, feels bad for his wife. All the Southwest flights you got to take across the United States. Maybe it's just he's got a home on the West Coast. Maybe it's that.
Go ahead, Bob.
No, I'm just saying the NFL he has made it so strongly known that the NFL is his dream.
But at a certain point, man, you got to get reps and you got to get paid. When you're chasing around the NFL dream and you're getting cut team after team, it's not like you're getting paid. And you're not getting the reps. So at a certain point, what are we doing here? You got to get the game reps. And he's 26. Depending on what his contract structure is, if it's only a year deal or 2-year deal, if he games out for 2 years, he might have another chance. Slim, but he might have a chance because he still is going to be pretty young.
It was fun. You talk about the paycheck, Eddie Belton Johnson. I asked him that question. Like, when did you kind of go, okay, I'm going to try the CFL after being with Cincinnati Bengals? And he goes, when I looked at my bank account, that's when I decided to go to the CFL. And that's just it, right? You need to get paid at some point.
And when you're going,
that's just it.
When you're going 3 of 13 in the preseason, that tells me you got to get reps, man. You got to be past. He hasn't passed the football since he was MOC here a couple of years ago.
Well, they said with the Giants, he never threw a pass.
Yeah. And Dave Naylor was talking about it as well, just about when he was watching him at practice and he's just standing there doing nothing. At some point, you almost feel like your skills are regressing a little bit if you're not out there, taking snaps.
I guess, I mean, just getting to know him a little bit in his time in Hamilton, Vernon Adams has always been a real good team guy. So I guess in some ways, maybe he's going to rest that knee a little longer than expected. Wow.
I do feel for VAJ though, man.
Absolutely. First he's ousted out of Hamilton because of Johnny Manziel. Things didn't work out in Montreal. Now he's in BC. Things look good. He's playing the best football of his career. And again, we don't know what's going to happen. So
I can see a VA landing in Winnipeg in the future.
Let the predictions start, guys. According to the Canadian Football League, Argos kick returner Janarion Grant is scoring a touchdown at 4.2 games. Every 4.2 games, he's scoring a touchdown in terms of a return. 12 touchdowns in 50 games. They're calling him the GOAT. Eddie?
Oh, come on. We know there's only one. You see the helmet. There's only one. The Giz. The Giz is the GOAT. We talk about the returns that he has. He's got, 11 more returns than the next closest person? But talk about the returns he has taken off the board. I know they don't count. But the yardage, this guy's got 20,000 return yards. It's not even comparison, man.
Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, it's Gizmo. It's Gizmo. Janarion's in a couple of years, he keeps this pace up, we can have the conversation. But Gizmo will forever be my nostalgic push as the greatest return man in CFL history, because every time he touched the ball, it was for somebody in Saskatchewan. Oh, here we go again. He's going to score another touchdown.
Yeah. Also, we could just stay on the Williams train here. Chris Williams, pinball.
Oh, yeah.
Pinball. Well, they pinball Clemens, not Williams. But there's other Williams out there. There's other returners. Now, both things are true. Janarion Grant is the best returner in the CFL right now, but it's not over Gizmo, not over pinball. There was other great ones. It's just
Bashir
something we
Livingston.
like to. Bashir Livingston, Jimmy the Jet Cunningham. Come on, we can go on and on. We love to rush to anoint the great one because we like believing we are living and watching history, and maybe we are, but it takes a little bit of time.
I don't even know if yes, okay, there's some numbers, but we can look at the eye test as well, too. I would put Dedmon in that category out of Ottawa as well, too.
Yeah, we haven't seen well, I guess he's got a touchdown this year, but you look at the return guys around the Canadian Football League right now. Almost every team has someone who's going to light it up, like Mario Alford. Worthy in Montreal when he's healthy. Like you go around the league, and it's like, yeah, and that's why I love the kick game in the Canadian Football League. We have some of the best returners, and it adds another dimension to the great great 3-down game. Easy for me to say.
Do you guys know if that Pimpleton in Ottawa, does he return kicks? Because he's electric as well.
Yeah, he did against Calgary.
He has a punt return, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's electric.
I don't know where they keep finding these guys because it's just amazing. They just kind of show up, even in his early days with, I guess it would have been Winnipeg. Lucky Whitehead, he looked wild there for a little bit as well too.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm glad that you brought up Chris Williams, Matthew, because I got to play with him for the run that he really was hot for 2 years, and yeah, it was special, man. And he's such a small, skinny little guy.
Tiny.
He was 145 pounds wet. Just long strides.
Well, speaking of Brandon Banks.
Yep.
It was another.
Mm-hmm. Like, just incredible. I mean, really, his numbers might be right there with Gizmo, maybe. But if it wasn't for June Jones, who took him off special teams and made him into a receiver, now that also got him MOP consideration as well, too, an MOP award. Like, he turned him into a receiver and took him off special. So who knows what would have happened by the time you totaled up his numbers at the end of his career. Okay, guys, Ottawa at Calgary, Montreal at Saskatchewan, Edmonton at Hamilton, Winnipeg at BC. Jamie Nye, the game of the week is.
Well, is Nathan Rourke starting this? Do you think he can start this week against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
Well, hold on. That's the Sunday game. So
yeah, he's got some days. He's got some days to work. I doubt it, but that might change my opinion. But
Dolegala on a short leash.
No kidding.
That man was born with a short leash.
I'm gonna go with the top team in the West, who worked their way up the standings with a tie against the number one team in the East in Saskatchewan. I don't know if Cody's going to start. I really want Cody to start. It doesn't sound like he will against the Riders, but anyways, it's the top team in the East against the top team in the West with Montreal and Saskatchewan. That was a pretty darn good game the other week when Montreal stormed back in the second half with Davis Alexander.
All right, I'm going Ottawa. I want to see Jeremiah Masoli. That's it. I'm going with the Ottawa game because I want to see what he looks like. I'm just curious. So I will go with Ottawa at Calgary. It's hard to beat best versus best, but from a human interest story, I just want to see what Masoli looks like.
Eddie?
Yeah, I would agree with Jamie. The Montreal Sask game, you have the two top teams in their respective divisions. But my passion is going to go with the Elks game because they're on a 2-game heater, if you can call it a heater. But there's just so much...
Come on, Matt. It's a heater for the Edmonton Elks. Any win streak is a heater for the Edmonton Elks.
But it's
fair point. They're like the mid-2000s Alouettes right now. Good job.
But it's honestly like there hasn't been much positivity around this club for 5 years. And I'm not just talking on the field. We're talking outside the organization, the hirings, the firings, the curious board decisions. So it's awesome to see finally a bit of success. But then with the quarterback situation in Hamilton too. So it's not just because I'm an Elks homer, I want to see the game. But I'm very curious the fact that they benched Bo Levi and they've anointed Powell so quickly. So I want to see how that plays out. And the Elks, I want to see, they're a different team. This is a different team that played Hamilton a few weeks back for the home and home. They have some belief now. They have some grit, I think they're playing with that they didn't play with before, and some physicality they've added to their game. So it's going to be a good game to see what they can come out and play and do against Hamilton.
Eddie, I know everyone hits practice this week. Any update on Trey Ford? Because this would have been a special one for him being a Niagara Falls guy, kind of a homecoming for him. Is he good to go?
I just got a text from a couple former teammates asking me about that, if I knew any insight. And I haven't talked to anybody yet. I mean, based off just watching the game, it clearly looked like something midsection ad maybe. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to go and assume what it is. But anytime you see someone holding their core and grimacing, just standing there, that would make me think it's something rib-related potentially. So when you're a quarterback, it's hard because you're torquing, you're having to turn your body. So again, it's a good thing you have a good backup because you need that insurance plan in the CFL at the quarterback position.
You know, I would have thrown this out even before Jamie broke the big news, but I'm really curious about this BC game because not so much because of the Lions and what they can do at home and trying to get out of this losing skid, but is this an opportunity? Or are we just starting to see Winnipeg kind of come back to what we sort of expected them to be, Matthew?
Yeah, well, it's funny. They've been so up and down all year, but you throw a shutout, that's really impressive, which what they did recently. And Winnipeg is that team where we're always going to give them the benefit of the doubt just because of all the winning, that they've done. Like basically they could lose the rest of the games and we'd be like, no, look out for Winnipeg. They're going to put it together. So yes, we're all waiting for that beast to sort of come back, but no Dalton's shown they've lost, they've lost some pretty high end talent as well. But yeah, they deserve the benefit of the doubt.
Are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt, Eddie?
No, I'm not. They're coming. They are. I agree. And you can see the veteran leadership kind of really trying to will them back into their winning ways. But this team they're aging all at the same time. And their bread and butter is just not it anymore. And that's their offensive line. Their offensive line the past, since O'Shea's really come and established his culture going back to 2016-ish roughly, they've been savages. And right now this season, you're seeing more and more teams just punch them in the mouth. And that's what's happening, and it's stalling them in their tracks. The run game isn't this intimidating monster that they've had over the past 4 years. And they can, quite frankly, be beat up front, which in the past they haven't been beat up front.
I'm going to go around with you guys here. And you know what? I think if I would look back at the last 3 or 4 CFL This weeks, I've asked this question, and it's a new cast of characters, so I'll throw it out again. Jamie, who and what are Calgary? I can't, of all the teams in the league, I don't know what to say about them. Like, who are they? What are they? Are they a good team?
I don't think so. At home, they're 4-0, so on the road, they're 0-5. It's an interesting, but Jake Maier doesn't get me out of my seat as a quarterback. He just doesn't. Like, I know he probably would hate the term game manager, but I think every quarterback's a game manager. That's their job as the quarterback. But there's something not there. They're lacking that it factor. I don't know. Maybe it's another playmaker they need to really light it up. They had a few over the last years, and they've kind of diminished a little bit. I just don't see that offense being like. I'm way more scared of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers than I am the Calgary Stampeders. Zach, the Edmonton Elks put up 500 yards against the Riders. I think I might be more scared for the Elks than the Calgary Stampeders, which would put them last in the CFL West. So there's something missing there in Cowtown.
Matt, your thought?
Well, first off, if you look at all the major statistics, they're somewhere between like 7th and 5th. They're a little below 500. They're this mushy blah of a team. So instead of talking about Calgary, Jamie, let's be intellectually honest now. There's a reason
why quarterbacks don't like. Are you talking about the future Grey Cup champion?
What's that?
Are you going to attack the future Grey Cup champion Saskatchewan Roughriders right now, Matt?
I am not. You were like, I don't know why quarterbacks don't like being called game managers. We know why. Doug Flutie was never a game manager. Anthony Calvillo was never a game manager. Jeremiah Masoli at his peak, not a game manager. We know what a game manager is. They do just enough, and if you give them plenty of stuff around them, they'll eke out a 21-18 win. We know why they don't like being called game managers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forget. Was it Zach? I think someone called Zach a game manager once, and he almost snapped.
You didn't
somebody.
Like that?
No.
Eddie, your thoughts on Calgary?
It's this whole Jake Mayer situation. 3 years ago, I thought he was going to be the next hot thing since sliced bread. He came out in his first 4 starts. He went for 300 yards plus every game. But he's just not been the quarterback that I really thought that he was going to be. In Calgary, when I watch the games, there is one positive that jumps off the screen, and that's Reggie Begelton. Outside of Reggie Begelton, and you can tell he's an older guy who is just trying to will his team. Outside of him, there's not a ton of great flashes. The defense is kind of meh. Cam Judge, who has been a really good player for them over the past couple of years, kind of an average at best season right now. So they're in such a weird, I don't want to say a lull, but they're in that state where, they're sub 500. They're not the worst in the league in most categories, as Matthew mentioned. It's just so not normal for us to see because we're used to seeing the stability of Calgary. We're used to seeing them be a front runner, especially in the West. And ever since really Mayer has taken over and Bo Levi, they made the change at quarterback a few years ago, they haven't really done much.
While you're breaking news there, Jamie, anything to say about Trevor Harris? Is he gonna be ready to go?
Eddie can answer this because he knows how football works. But they were doing the gamesmanship thing yesterday in Saskatchewan with, we'll see by the end of the week. We'll see if that knee holds up. Yeah. He took 98% of the first team reps on day one of practice. Like, come on.
Don't waste our time here.
Don't play me like that. Yeah. We know what's going on. Like, seriously. Shea Patterson, I don't even know if he got one rep as with the first team offense. I was like, I wish I was in that scrum. I would have looked at Corey Mason and been like, come on, man. Day one, he takes 99% of the reps, and we'll see how it goes.
Just keep it real. That's it. That's all anybody wants. Just keep it real.
So I would be shocked if Trevor Harris isn't beyond. But of course, as Corey May said, you never know. Like, you might step off a curb and twist an ankle. He just, one of those things. But yeah. Trevor's off the 6th game he's playing against the Montreal Alouettes.
Well, we never know, but what I do know is that you guys are brilliant. You guys are why the CFL this week is what it is, why everyone's watching, why everyone's talking about it. We love the knowledge. We love the inside information. For the first time ever, we have breaking news. Just outstanding effort, guys, and really appreciate it here on behalf of the Ticats Audio Network. That, as always, because we say some controversial things sometimes, there are our listeners that do want to reach out to some of you guys. Eddie, I know that you like to tickle it every once in a while. How can fans get out to you?
I do. It gives me a little thrill, tickle it. That's well said. Just on Twitter, you can check me out, Eddie Steele. Just type in my name, Eddie_Steele97. Pretty easy to track down.
Green Zone guy, where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Jamie Nye. Also, you can follow at Green Zone SK for the show tweets. And yeah. And you can read my column about that command center thing at CJME.com if you really want to dig into how that game ended between the Redblacks and the Roughriders.
Yes, I'm very intrigued. Mr. Cauz.
Yeah,
I see you on TV nowadays.
Well, first, I'm guessing that Jamie wrote a glowing praise of all things Command Center and the wonderful job they did. You also need to know I'm not very good at guessing. I also enjoy tickling it from time to time. And you can get a hold of me at mcauz56 on Twitter. And, check out the Matt Talks Wine and Stuff with Interesting People podcast, where I interview so many winemakers all across, not far from Hamilton, in Grimsby and Jordan and Lincoln and St. Catharines, supporting Canadian farmers.
Folks, the CFL This Week comes to you every week on the Ticats Audio Network, which is always loaded with CFL and Tiger Cats related content and programming. Please hit that subscribe and thumbs up button and drop us a 5-star rating, because this was a 6-star show. We appreciate it, and we certainly appreciate you. This is the CFL This Week. I'm Bubba O'Neil. Let's kick it off soon on the Ticats Audio Network.